Probably, yeah, there we go. Turn the mic on for that. As we're streaming, we also got this camera. I can switch back and forth in, say hello to everybody. Hi, everybody on the internet. If you want to wave, no? Okay, anywho, that's our thing. So something we're still trying to figure out, a fast way to do this. Lucas suggested Zoom meetings, and I'm sure on Thursday I'll get another suggestion, is a really fast way to switch between laptops and presentations with YouTube live streaming. So, I don't know. If you do watch the YouTube, you'll see that we have like fancy graphics, and sometimes we'll put like the speaker name below and it fades in, and I feel like I am your local news station. And I think mine would, underneath the screen would say, young man yells a lot about Python. So that's how we roll over here. Our general agenda today, we got the pizza. That's fun. Now we can do introductions. So this is Salt Lake City Python Meetup group. Here's our website, meetup.com/SLCPython. You can also go to SLCPy.com, which we just renewed. Python Utah North, we have a couple people from there today. Hey, we got Dirk and Dr. El Shabib, also known as my dad. They drove all the way from Logan to be here. We had a quick chat about just general meetup logistics and suggestions and things like that. They are revitalizing their group. We have the Pi Ladies. Anybody from the Pi Ladies here? Hey, Isla.
Hi.
How's it going? Awesome. We have Python at the Point, which is also the South Valley, Python at the Point, which is the South Valley meetup. Anybody who goes to that, Python at the Point? Hey, how's it going? When's your next meetup?
Not this Thursday, but next.
Yes, next Thursday. At Needle still, or is it somewhere else now?
Salt Stack, right?
Kind of.
Oh yeah, it's Salt Stack.
Oh,
You guys
Canopy?
switched.
You went to Canopy?
I went to Canopy, yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
And the next one will be actually on a front-end at scale, which they show a JavaScript front-end framework that they created, which is pretty cool.
Nice. Yeah, that's cool. Provo Python is now part of Python at the Point. There's also Girl Develop It SLC. Who's part of that? Girl Develop It? Oh, hey. How's it going? Well, and you guys typically have like lunches and things like that, right? That's
We usually meet on, like, have a Wednesday evening meetup.
nice.
Yeah, they meet at OC Tanner.
OC Tanner,
Oh, okay.
like, third Wednesday of the month.
I'm on their Slack, so I'm sort of involved.
So yeah, those are some local friendly Python coding meetups around town. Our website's slcpy.com and utahpython.org, which will be transferred on Thursday. That's tomorrow, and we'll be keeping track of that. We're trying to consolidate everything into the same checking account, essentially. Speaking of which, all of that money is online. If you go to slcpython.com/money, you can just look at everything. The only thing that you don't see as a member is who donated what, but you do see all the ins and outs, and I just reconciled everything. So it should be up to date, with the exception of donations that we just got, but it does have the expense of our pizza and the raffle prices, so we're pretty much up to date. Matt would appreciate that, right? Where's Matt? He's sitting, oh, he's right in front of me. Speaking of Matt, our sponsors are Pythonistas like you and Xmission. Are you tired of the government spying on your internet? Then use Xmission. Yeah, Xmission's great. If you can get a hold of Xmission in Utah, I highly recommend it. No data caps, right? Don't tell me if I'm wrong. No, you guys don't have data caps on any plan, any fiber plan.
But it's just ridiculously high.
Yeah, and fiber and all sorts of goodness. New sponsors always appreciate it, so if your company really wants to sponsor something, let me know via Meetup, and they can come and do a quick spiel. Past expenses again, and past sponsorships are all listed at meetup.com/SLCPython, and depending on the level of sponsorship, we always put the sponsor in the sidebar, and they always get a quick spiel, just like this one. Who's new here? Who's never been to a meetup before? Umair. Is that it? Wow. Oh, we're fast becoming a fixture in the Salt Lake Valley, aren't we?
The growth has declined.
Quiet you. Well, we usually do something fun
What end?
for all of our new members where you say your name, your occupation, and something non-coding related. So this month I decided it's going to be your favorite flower. So I'll go first. It's going to be, I'm Ferris. I am the senior backend janitor at Team. So I clean up other people's mistakes in code. No, somewhat. Mostly weaknesses.
He leaves yours because he wants to embarrass you.
And my favorite flower has to be, I guess, the lavenders. I really like them. Or actually the jasmine flower, which you don't really see in Utah, but it's definitely my favorite. And Umair, you get to introduce yourself to everybody.
So my name's Umair. I'm a software developer at Team. Work with Ferris and Lucas and David. Favorite flower? I don't have one, but I like saying chrysanthemum. So that's going to be
Nice. So because it's just Umair who's new, which is awesome, I think we will, as you're giving your talk, you get to introduce yourself like that real quick as well. So one reason I always try to touch, I think I've told this to everybody, but why I always try to do a non-coding thing is I've always been of the opinion that programming is the thing that gets you the thing. It's not the thing. Does that make sense? No? Good. Sweet. My favorite part of our little shindig is who's hiring. By the way, if you are hiring, please find this link on Meetup. I pasted it, and you can type contact details in, or we can yell across the room email addresses, and I will misspell them because I'm bad at that. So, anybody know of any company that's hiring any kind of Python or programming? No?
Yeah.
Yes?
We're always hiring bioinformatics people or people that know one end of a computer from another that really like biology.
Is it with an SH?
SCH.
SCH. It's German.
Yeah. Didn't quite get there. ubiota.com.
ubiota.com.
Yeah.
You get a free jingle too. Anybody else know of anybody hiring?
I was back as a couple of positions for software developers. I think they're primarily interested in Java. We're primarily Java shop. Yeah. Software jobs.
There's Python on the data side now, right?
What's that?
On your data side?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and we have, just looked it up, we have a opening for a software developer for data science. So if you know Python, come work with me. That would be awesome.
How much data science do you have?
I have no idea. I just saw it. I didn't know it was there.
Isn't that what you do there?
I do data science.
Do you still do that?
Maybe not.
Awesome. Who else? Oh, in the back.
CHPC is hiring. I will let Walter add that to the list.
Sure.
With the link. It's pretty much like a staff scientist or data scientist. So the needs are various for people who use the high performance computing. So it's a lot of new technologies you can learn if you are only just getting involved. So I would totally recommend looking at the link. And you can help host the Python here because you have access to this building as well.
So for those who don't know, CHCP stands for the Center
For
of High Performing
Yes.
Computing.
The horses are elsewhere.
Yes. Awesome. Anybody else know of anybody in the community hiring? Sweet. Another fun favorite of mine where you get to market yourself. So is anybody in the room looking? And this is the point where you jokingly raise your hand if you work at Team because you're sitting in front of Lucas. And no?
And then it becomes true next week.
Yeah.
Any of these fine gentlemen in this office.
As long as Team's not looking, I'm happy.
Anybody? Now's your chance. Going once, going twice? Well, looks like there's more demand than people looking, which is always good. Community news, this is kind of old, but I figured I'd keep it up. It's Django 1.11 is the long-term supported edition of Django. Again, last long-term supported with Python 2.7. So the next one's 3, that's it. So learn 3, that's basically what you got to do, unless your name is Zed Shaw, in which case, whatever. He does whatever he wants. Let's see. PyCon 2017 is in like 2 weeks. Can you guys believe it? Who's going to PyCon? Yeah? Walter? Hey, yeah, high five from there. No?
Elizabeth's going too.
Oh, yeah, you're going? I didn't see. I just saw a finger. I'm kind of going. Sweet. If you are going, meet with me after. We usually set up a Utah Python like Google Hangout, which is a lot of fun, and then we can coordinate. It's in Portland, so we have to get apparently, what is it called? Voodoo donuts? Or something donuts? Is it?
I'll watch you guys eat voodoo donuts, yeah.
Yes.
They're the ones that are downtown.
Yes. They are also, they're fairly close to a homeless shelter, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, they are. And the
Oh, all
line
sorts
is
of cool
about
stuff.
2 miles long.
Yeah, the line's amazing. There's also Powell's Books,
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
that's
which is
amazing.
amazing. I can't wait for Powell's Books. I have to make sure I leave some room in my luggage just for Powell's Books. Awesome. IPython 5, that also came out. This is an old list. Oh, there was new
Python
news
6
though.
now.
Yeah, it's 6, isn't? Or they announced it.
No.
Oh, it is
Yeah,
6?
it's all, yeah.
Okay, I put the wrong one in here.
It's not called IPython anymore either, right?
Wait,
Well,
what?
Python is still IPython, but.
Right.
we got
The
IPython
notebook's
now.
called Jupyter now, right?
Anyway, there was something else that was released. Was it today or yesterday? They were talking about integrating D3 going forward with their visualization in the background for, or in the foreground, in the front end for those notebooks. I'll need to find a link and I'll paste it. But it was a pretty interesting article. Anybody know of any other tech news, dev news in the last 30 days? Anybody click on a Google Docs link today?
I've been avoiding those.
Yeah,
Oh, wow, yeah.
that was a pretty
My
fun
boss
one.
clicked on it.
Your former boss?
That's about it. Basically, he clicked on it just as I was sending him a note. Don't click on this thing.
Yeah, it seems to be the case. If you haven't done OAuth before, now's your chance to learn it. So, because it's going to change, I bet, after this. For those who don't know, basically, people were getting an email that said, hey, open this Google Doc. This person has shared this with you. And it's somebody you know, because that's how the virus proliferated. And it looked legit, like a Google thing. But basically, somebody made an app, registered it in Google, and used Google's OAuth. And the app name was called Google Docs. So Google was not actually preventing you from making an app called Google Docs. Really interesting.
And what it ended up doing was stealing your entire
Contact
address
list.
books
Yeah.
and contacts and sending everybody on it.
Yeah.
Just proliferated that way.
Yeah, it got solved within 30 some odd minutes, so it got escalated and resolved within 30 minutes, but still kind of an interesting one.
It's nice to have a big staff.
Yeah, it's, well, at the same time, I've seen other places where the staff is so big and it's like, well, it's going to take us like a couple hours to roll out a fix.
That's true.
Reddit. No. Anyway. Yeah. Any other community news? Interesting tidbits?
AWS, oh, go ahead. Sorry. AWS Lambda has Python 3 point something.
And it's about time.
3.6? Yeah, 3.6.
Sweet. Any other before we
So
use?
there's a big mountain data thing, and they have a lot of like data science-y stuff, which a lot of them use Python. That's
Is that a
on-
conference?
It's on the 13th.
It's the
That's
13th?
like one of the campuses.
So if somebody wants to
Also
Google
free.
and link that, that would help.
Ferris,
Hmm?
it's also free, so you just have
Oh.
to sign up through Eventbrite.
So if you couldn't make it to PyCon, there's another one. Speaking of if you couldn't make it to PyCon, there is the Open West conference happening fairly soon. Is that July, I believe?
Yeah, it's in July. What's that too?
Yeah, lots of conferences. 'Tis the season to get useless swag. I just moved, so the amount of swag I found out I had was kind of ridiculous. I think it was like 15 different bottles from various conferences. Or had like a box of just conference tags. I think next one I won't pay for it. I'll just wear one that looks similar and just walk around. Awesome. Okay, so that's the main community news. One more thing. I've been doing this for like 3 years. I'm doing this thing where I'm getting married in July, and like having a honeymoon. So I'm going to be gone for the first 2 weeks of July. So this is your warning. We need to find an MC for July. So if somebody wants to step up, literally, and like stand right here, I think what we could do is for the June talks, you can try, doing one of these or like managing one and then rock the July one. So if anybody wants to do that, step up, talk to me after this. That would be awesome. It's time I step down as benevolent dictator because that's how I usually start things, is benevolent dictator, and then it becomes democracy. So if somebody wants to try doing this, they totally are welcome. It's really not that hard. I make it look much harder than it is. So what was that?
Oh, he was saying I should do it.
Oh, yeah. Perhaps.
I'd be open if I
One thing.
Sleep the night before. That
Yeah.
sounds great.
One thing to keep in mind that this person would get to select, or I'll send out a survey. It's the day after July 4th, so a lot of people might be gone that first week. So we might move it up 1 week to the next week, next Wednesday, which is fine. We've done that a few times. Awesome. So new topics. I was going to say June, but Isla actually volunteered, so I'm going to put that over here. And Isla, your talk was like mocks in Python, right?
Python unit test, yeah.
Yeah. Boom. And I'll slam enter a couple times here. So yeah, you already have a speaker lined up. That's awesome. We got to find one for July, and then the MC, all they have to do is just be here and let people in. So cool. We have a bunch of topics suggested. Today was a bring your own talk because I couldn't really figure out. There was just too many. I had choice paradox, So yeah, if somebody wants to step up, July is definitely open. Cool. And with that, we will take a 2-minute break, and then we'll start on lightning talks. And how the format will work is basically, if you want to do a talk, I'm going to do the first talk, and you guys will be like, oh my goodness, this is so easy. So then you can come up and do a talk. We'll keep it around 15 minutes per talk with a little bit of buffer for Q&A. And yeah, awesome. So yeah, take a 2-minute break. I'm going to get some water because my voice is getting a little dry. Boom. I'll see you guys in 3 minutes.
so.
Okay. So, let's see if I have an example. So, in our team, we have this Learn Python channel, which is a lot of fun. Apparently Lucas just found out that we had a Learn Python channel. That's okay. And in the Learn Python channel, our QA dev, or our QA person, Anne, was asking, hey, I want to learn some Python stuff. How's formatting work? So we had this whole thing, and I was showing off the different kinds of formatting. I thought that was pretty cool. And then just the other day, somebody mentioned the Learn Python channel, our CTO, Zach. And don't worry, I'll make this bigger. And I was like, oh, I should post something. Like, here is a loop in Python versus a list comprehension. So let's take a loop at that. Can everybody read this? Yeah? Okay. So a normal loop in Python kind of looks like this. So let's say you have this list of animal objects, and your boss says, I need to know all these animals that start with H. And you know Python, right? And you know these are little strings, so they're really easy. So you say for A in animals, where A is now your loop variable, I'm going to find all the ones that start with H. And then I'm going to append it, which means I'm going to pop it into this list. And boom, it's going to be an H animal. That's it. But like every dev, you're lazy, right? And you say to yourself, there's got to be a better way. So people who know a better way, what's the better way, right? Anybody? List comprehensions, which is written probably somewhere right here. So okay, we take the list and we can say, hey, these animals are also H animals. And so we say, so let's take apart the list comprehension. How I think about them personally is I start in the middle and I bounce back and forth. It's kind of like when you're doing syntax trees, but that gets complicated. But if you think about a sentence, you kind of, the core of the sentence is there in English, and you go back and forth, and that's how you can figure out the meaning. So a list comprehension in Python is you have your animals, that's your list originally, right? And then you have you're going to make a mini variable. I don't know what the actual word for it is. Anybody? What's the actual name of this variable?
Hey.
Well, yeah.
Iterator?
Yeah, it's a bit of a list iterator, I guess, variable. But anyway, you can do stuff to it. So you could say A for A in animals if A starts with H.
I would just like to point out that none of us have a name for it, and it doesn't matter.
And yes, there is no name for it. Now here's another thing. While you're learning or teaching yourself Python, everybody should do this. Even yeah, so junior dev for life, yo, I'll still do this, where I paste something in to an IPython or Python terminal and just to try it out, right? So here's also H animals. So if we print also H animals, we got hippo and hare, right? Well, that's interesting. And just so we can cover list comprehension a little bit more than I did in that channel, because these are strings, another thing you can do with these list comprehensions is, the reason it's this kind of syntax is that you can take stuff from them. So you could get, for example, the very first letter in each. So then what's this going to be?
H and H.
Just H, yeah. H's. H is everywhere. I don't know why I was obsessed with the letter H, but maybe too much Sesame Street that day. Awesome. Well, then our, what's Jen's technical title, by the way? ETL Guru Data Architect?
We'll go with that one.
Yeah, so our friendly data architect, she was teaching herself Python, and of course she's a data architect, so she asked me, how do I time which one's faster? I was like, dang it, you want me to profile this too? So let's try that, shall we? So first off, we don't need to make a giant list, right? So we got this Python function, make random word list. And I decided I don't really need to optimize it right now. I just need to do it, have it do its thing. And I know in Python 3, we can get a string.ascii lowercase. So let's actually, let me show you what that looks like. For you Python 2 people, it's just string.lowercase now. And wow, look, it's just a string.ascii lowercase. So you can actually do random.choice. And then we will have random words. So by the way, that's an IPython magic function. Anybody ever use this? If you do %paste into IPython, it'll take whatever in your clipboard, paste it in, and you can actually make random word lists now, however many you want. 10.
That and the %save, %history, all those are awesome.
Yeah.
I used to do %paste, but now just pasting works normally. It didn't used to.
Oh, really?
I feel like that's new.
Yeah,
The
this
pasting
is
to
pretty-
work normally
yeah,
is,
you just paste and it just goes.
yeah. And the thing is, I'm switching between Linux and Mac, and I don't trust Mac, so I'm just gonna just do %paste. Mac's gonna screw it up somehow.
Do what works.
Yeah, exactly. So boom, here is my random word list. Now, mind you, these aren't words at all, but this is just so I can, make a bunch of random words, right? Okay, so we have our two cases. I decided, hey, it's easier if I name them. That way people see what's going on. Why put a comment when I can actually just name a function? And we're going to put our random words in there. And it's the same thing as we did above. Same thing here, list comprehension, but faster. Oh, is it faster? I'm going to put quotes. We're doing an experiment here. Basic profiling. Hey, Jason. Boom. So we got same thing. And I decided to make it a Python script. Who has not seen this before? Who's like teaching themselves Python right now? Yeah, so this is a quick way to just turn your Python file into pretty much, is it an executable? Or, yeah, it's like a self-running module is how you can think of it. It just
use a Java term, you can say you make it a driver.
Yeah, is it a driver? Is that really?
I think, yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Well, back when I was learning Java in like 2000.
So here's our make random word list. I decided to go overboard with it. Got to test all of these cores, even though Python's only going to use one core, but don't talk about that. Anyway, and I made it in a really, really, really simple way to profile it. There's probably a better way. There is a better way to do this with a decorator, but I wanted to keep the example easy. Boom. Start time.clock. Hey, what's time.clock do? Anybody know? No, you don't. Just type it in here. Boom. Time.clock. Time.clock. Oh, look, it changed. So you could say start equals time.clock. That was messy. End equals time.clock. Right? Elapsed equals start or end minus start.
There's one that's like microseconds.
Boom.
If you need that, right?
So format it nicely, because we were talking about formatting last week, so I figured they'd understand that. And here's our first one, and here's our second, and let's run it. Let's see what happens. I'm gonna quickly comment this out. For those of you learning how to code, yes, we comment stuff out. We pretend we're doing everything cleanly. No, we just comment out code when we're testing. Boom. And we let that run. We let that run. Takes a little bit. It is a Mac, so I'm not going to give it that much credit. Still running.
Jeopardy music.
I know. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, dun, dun. So which one do we think is going to run faster, by the way? Who's thinking list comprehensions are faster? And who's thinking the for loop is going to be faster? Yeah? Well, it looks like the list comprehension is 0.01 milliseconds faster in this case. The main thing, if I ran this through a profiler, I could show you, but the main thing that was taking up the time was this make random word list. So I decided to make a gigantic random word list because, Jen's a data architect and she's used to big data, whatever the heck that means. So yeah, we know they're even, and they're doing the exact same thing, and list comprehension is slightly faster. Boom, that's my lightning talk. Any questions?
What happens if you run it as a generator?
Yes. That is an exercise to be left up to the reader. I'm just kidding. Let's do it right now.
Why don't we teach people generator comprehensions first?
I am not sure why we wouldn't.
Aren't they the same?
Yeah, they are, but but a lot of people don't even know about them.
I just took advantage of the generator thing.
The generator comprehensions can be done with tuples now, right?
It's
Well,
just copy and paste
that's
that
the
from above and
syntax.
just replace the square brackets with parentheses.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and you get exactly the same thing back as a generator. And if you're a data architect and you have a really, really giant data set, that's what you want.
Boom, let's try it. I'm live coding, so pardon me if things break. Uh-huh. Da, 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 da. Actually, let's take this one because it's easier.
There's an IPython magic command called time it that does all this.
There is, and I looked into it and I couldn't figure it out in time, so. I noted that in some of the ways it calls it, you actually have to, is it in an IPython too? That's cool. In one way that I saw that you call it, you actually turn your Python code into a string as well, and I wasn't sure what the cleanest way to do that was. But yeah, let's see how this works. Can somebody peer review my code?
Your list generator needs to be.
This is a minor thing, but you are allocating a variable to the generator and then returning generator. You could just return it.
In that last line, you
On the generator itself,
leave
it's
it
going
up
to
to
be
go
around
around.
the list comprehension.
Oh.
It's not actually going to return anything.
So I need to do
No,
this.
well, you have to. It's generated, right? So until you iterate through, it's not returned anything. So it's going to run like that.
You're just
Oh,
returning a
right,
generator.
right. I'm just going to return the generator. So now I have to call it correctly.
The real-time savings is
Make
only
a
going to
list.
come if you make random word lists a generator.
Ah, yes. This thing I should make a generator.
There we go.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Not
some
return them. Oh, you have
are
the fantasy
actually.
deals.
Yeah. See, I haven't ever written a
You have to
generator. See?
spell it the American way.
No. It's not going to work.
And then you don't want to do the append.
And then you're
The what?
trying to
Append?
You don't want the
the
append.
same set of
don't need the append.
data back. So yes, it'll generate data for you. It's not going to give you the same.
So you're gonna
set of
start
data
it at
back.
that
So this final test of did I do the same sets?
Got pretty far away from the idea of a generator comprehension.
Yes.
It's just like a generator.
For the record, I think this is
Can you reset? Is there a way to?
the generator. So this becomes the generator function.
Well, but you're also resetting it to random stuff.
That's true. That's true.
But yes. Actually, what we should do, but I don't think we have time for, is now profile this versus the other thing, and that would be an interesting use case too. So yeah, that's my lightning talk. Let's get Alex set up before I keep embarrassing myself. But yeah.
And the generator is an exercise for the student.
Yes. That's the first part. I'll post results and learn Python. Boom. I think my cord is broken. Mirror your display.
No, because I need my speaker notes.
No, the one to the camera.
No?
No.
Hi, my name is Alex Kessinger. I work for a company called bpress. We create what's known as an institutional repository.
Favorite flower?
Favorite flower would have to be a squash blossom because you can fry it and eat it.
Nice.
An institutional repository is a way to capture all the academic output from an institution. Like the University of Utah Law School is one of our customers. So any kind of paper that gets written in that organization gets put into the institutional repository. I've only been at bpress for about 2 years now, but I'm going to talk to you about graceful Python deployments. And I've been using this particular stack that I'm going to describe for about 5 years. I've been working with Python for probably about 10 years professionally, and I've been building websites almost the entire time. And like I said, I've been using the stack that I'm going to describe here for about 5 years. I want to talk about graceful fast deployments. I'm going to start with some definitions, and then we'll go into what it means to do like a graceful reload, if anyone's unfamiliar with that term. And then I'm going to talk specifically about like the specifics of deploying a Python application. So just to raise your hands if you know what I mean when I use the word graceful, or at least you think you do. Okay, so graceful is like, can we roll out the code without disturbing the user experience at all? When I talk about deployments, I'm talking about deploying an isolated Python application to like n number of boxes, and it could be running n services. So we would be deploying to our web servers, but also maybe to our background workers at the same time. And then when I say artifact, what I'm saying is that we're going to build like a tarball or something with all the code and all the dependencies in one package so that we can sort of atomically distribute that out to every box that we're deploying to. That doesn't necessarily mean that it includes things like system packages, like your SSL libs are going to be installed on Linux. I've learned over the years not to assume anything about a person's understanding of load balancers, so I'm going to quickly cover this. So here we have kind of a traditional n-tier deployment of a website. Traffic comes in from the internet, it goes to the load balancer, it'll get split over some number of app servers, with usually like Nginx or Apache or HAProxy or something. And then it's going to go to sort of your like application container. So I normally use UWSGI, but like gEvent, no, not gEvent, but yeah, Unicorn, there you go, are other examples of this. And then it will distribute the traffic to a pool of application instances. In Python 2 land, I'm probably running not more than 2 or 3 applications per core. Unless, yeah. So that's like the perfect world, but from time to time we have to deploy code. So how do we do this without destroying all the connections that are open across that entire stack? And so this is something that we get for free from UWSGI, and also Unicorn does this as well. So the first step in a graceful reload, and there's lots of different ways to do this dance, but this is one specific way. The existing application instances stay up, and we bring up a brand new pool of application servers. The UWSGI server will start distributing new traffic to the new servers until it completely drains traffic from the old servers. So in this world, it makes sense if you have pretty good, strong bounds on how long an event or how long an HTTP request is going to take. I've been in certain environments where HTTP requests could take minutes and just wouldn't work very well, but for most people, if it takes less than 500 milliseconds, like, you're doing pretty good. And then the last step is it shuts down the old version of the software, and you're just left with your new application pool. Anyone have any questions about that? Okay, I'm going to talk briefly about the application build process. So, oh man, that's not legible. So, I'll talk you through it anyway. So at the top, either it's a pull request or it's a new commit to master, we're going to kick off a brand new build. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to check and see if there is a change to our requirements.txt file. And if there is, we'll create a new virtual environment. But if there isn't, we'll just use the existing one. And this is a really quick speed up for anyone who uses Python like deployments. After that, we'll activate the virtual environment, and then we will build the artifact. We'll try and isolate it from all the other stuff in your repo. And then run unit tests and integration tests and whatever else you want to do. And then we usually archive that artifact to S3. So now I need to talk a little bit about the boxes that we're deploying to before I tell you what happens to the artifact. So for any given box that I'm going to deploy an app to, I don't always run multiple apps per box, but I plan for it to be possible. So this folder scheme makes it possible to run multiple Python applications on the same box, pretty isolated. So all the configuration and all the app deploys happen into one folder, and we also write all the logs and everything else into the same folder. So if you wanted to, you could just kind of like sidecar multiple apps on the same machine, and they don't really run into one another. So mostly my application deployments are artifact-based, like I said. We don't do pip install on the production machines ever. There's almost no moving parts. We drop in a tarball, we unzip it, and then we update the symlink. And then we touch a configuration file, which is the signal to UWSGI to perform the graceful reload that we showed previously. So this is sort of like bash pseudocode, if that makes sense. A great property of the system is that rollbacks are incredibly fast. So it could take up to a minute to deploy the code, but if your pre-existing code is there, it's about 10 seconds to roll back. So it's a nice safety net sometimes. So the last thing I want to talk about is making your virtual M relocatable. For most part, it's pretty easy. Make sure that you build your artifacts on the same CPU architecture that you're going to deploy to. That's important for anything that you compile. And then in production, you basically just source to activate files just like you would on your dev box. And then there's one small thing you need to change, and that's sort of where this gets hairy. When you build a virtual environment, it hard codes the shebang into all of the executables. So you need to rewrite the executable shebangs if you want to deploy your virtual env into production. And I'll put these slides somewhere. I'm not going to go into this in super detail.
Yeah, you can paste it into the Etherpad.
Okay. But this is an example of a build script that we use. I'm not going to explain it, but this is the script that like Jenkins or CircleCI runs. And then this is the Python file that we use to rewrite all the shebangs in the binary path. So this makes it really super fast to deploy Python gracefully. And that's it.
Nice. Questions for Alex? Anybody?
Have you looked at Python wheels instead of Heroku?
I've looked at Python wheels, but it's never made sense to me how to put it in there. I'm sure that if I sat down and I looked at it, I'd be able to figure it out. But I've been using the system since before Python wheels, and so it keeps working. But I have looked into things like PEX, and I believe that Armin Roncher created another thing.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure. I've seen something you created with buttons actually. Yeah, I use that and I think it works fine, but it's for sure a lot slower than this.
So can you just go over again what the scope of the artifact is? So
Yeah.
It's got.
So the scope of the artifact is the source code, and then we will put in the virtual environment into the tarball. So that's all on the same root path. And then when we basically untar the tarball into a named directory, the virtual env is inside of that. And then the folder scheme, it has a folder called current, and then we always update the current folder to the latest build number. And then all of our configuration files like nginx and uwsgi, they all are configured with the current path and not anything specific to the application build. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. So that last step where you like patch the shebangs, for instance.
Yeah.
Is that done before you package the artifact, or is
it is, yeah. So that's one of the reasons why I introduced the folder scheme. So it requires prior knowledge of where you're going to put the artifact, and it all has to be done in the same path in the same place. Because I've been doing this for a while, it's been easy to sort of converge upon a path name, and only in the last few years have I realized that that's not normal necessarily.
Other questions for Alex in Python artifacts?
So you doing this on Circle CI or any of the other like SaaS
Yeah,
CI tools?
I actually just completed my first Circle CI build for this today. We currently only apply the artifact. It's actually, we did this in Perl. Perl, you can't patch like Python because they actually include the executable path in the source code in the executable. It's insane. But we apply it to a Docker container that looks as if it were a server. And we're about to start doing this into AWS using Circle CI 2.0.
So you mentioned Docker. Do you think that something like Docker would replace this for you at
Oh,
some
yeah.
point? Because Docker basically is that thing.
Yeah.
Your artifact, right?
Yeah, I think that that's a conversation that we have with our DevOps and Ops people. And at the moment, there's enough quirkiness behind containers that if we go containers, we're going to go with something like Kubernetes at the same time. We're not going to try and manually manage containers.
I've had the same problem.
But there's an interesting in-between. If you use Ubuntu and you use the new 16.04, there's a thing called snaps. And snaps allow you to not only bundle your source code, but also your devs into one isolated, and it's not a container, it's not like a Docker container, but it's like one isolated, boom, here's my thing, and then it starts running. Our ops person used to work on Ubuntu's cloud platform, and so he's showing us the way right now.
Let me make a comment. I use container in my company, and we have, for example, Go APIs and Python clients. And on my laptop, I can spin up the API with the database and put them all together, and I'm testing my client directly with the production environment. Like the equivalent of a production environment on my lap.
Yeah.
So that means that you can still use Circle CI and all that, but the feedback loop that you get from an integration test, it's way faster because you can just spin up all the Docker containers you need. In my case, we have like 8 containers.
Yeah.
And then I just run my integration test and say, okay, it passes.
Yeah.
And just.
Oh yeah. We use containers all the way up to production. And right now we're looking at using Terraform to allow a developer to spin up an entire environment for themselves and talk to it from there. For what they're working on, talk to some backing environment.
Other questions? Thanks, Alex.
That's how it goes. Yeah, so my name's Cale Fisher, and I work here in pathology, and I'm a microbiologist. Used to be a structural biologist. Computers are the family trade, so I just use computers at my lab and at my company to solve interesting scientific problems. In this case, I'm going to tell you about solving a boring
What's your
problem.
favorite flower?
Oh, my favorite flower is lupin. They're these pea-shaped flowers, and the bee comes up and lands on this pretty UV pattern in front of it, and then the bottom part separates, and the sex bits of the flower like pop up through the separation and hit the bee in the ass. So it's
Awesome.
Cool. And you can give a little demonstration if you have like a pine needle or a matchstick or whatever, and you can press it down. You can see what happens. And it blows people away. So.
What was it called?
Lupin. Also good Python reference because Monty Python skit where a Robin Hood character goes and steals lupins from the rich people and gives them to poor people. So I hadn't remembered that. So anyway, today I'm going to tell you about a boring problem that we had where we're trying to get our results out from our company to customers, and because of tremendous epic dev failures, we couldn't do it normally like on our website. So I just decided I would make an artifact, if you will, that contained all of the JavaScript and canvas drawing and all that stuff, and just email it to them. So this is some example data. So over on this side, this is my my like 6-month-old who is his like stool microbiota before he gets antibiotics, and this is after he gets antibiotics. And so you can see there's like a big change. And you can drive around in this thing and like zoom in on the Clostridia, and these are synchronized. So there's a lot of interesting stuff that you can do. That's the kind of stuff that you do when you come work for us. You get to help people understand the microbes that are important to them. And the cool thing about microbiology is everything that's interesting on the planet involves microbiology. You cannot get away from it. So anyway, how do you mail that out after you've made this spiffy graph and your devs refuse to deliver it for you, and you're just like going to power through and deliver it? So I'll tell you a little bit about electronic messaging. Right, so here's just, like I said, it's a boring topic. You can hear so why would we need email? Because we have all these other great ways of communicating with people, like YouTube comments and passing phone drives around and whatever. There's some bad stuff about email, right? Just because of the way it's developed, like most people can't use encryption, like consumer, average users can't really encrypt their emails easily, and there's nice little apps for that now. So it's not like email is perfect, but it is ubiquitous, and it's pretty long lived now. We've been using it for a long time. What's going to happen after we don't have email anymore? Well, you can start making your Pip-Boy. You can start making your DIY tractor there in the middle, or you can print out Wikipedia and try to prepare for that world. But
art to art.
In the history of my personal history of electronic messaging starts back in the 70s, when we would send annoying bell characters or game signals that indicated that they'd lost the game to other kids. We were using like time sharing systems where they were just running BASIC, right? Then I got to use this cool thing also in the 70s called Plato Network, and that was also based on a Star Trek-like game. So there's this was before like this was when Star Trek games were still running, and causing people to develop these applications, right? Before we moved on to Amazon and pornography and stuff like that. So, I mean, yeah, my first exposure to pornography was ASCII art on yellow teletype paper in the 70s. Digitized, centerfolds and stuff. But that wasn't really, that didn't really motivate people the way that the Star Trek games did. So how are you going to send out cool emails? So when I was a graduate student, you could just fire up your workstation and send out emails to any server that you wanted. There was no like spam controls or anything like that. So that was like my last experience with programmatically writing a script to send out emails. So I had to figure out how to deal with authentication to the mail servers to do it. So you're going to need to set up that authentication stuff and get some credentials. Then you're going to need to make your message, and you make like this multi-part line data structure, and then you send it out via another part of the standard library, which is made to talk to these simple mail transport protocol servers. So there's two parts of the standard library we're going to use. One is called email, and one is called SMTP-lib. So the first part is finding a protocol or a server that you can talk to and getting appropriate credentials to use it. So you could still be running your own email server, and I've done that a lot, especially for receiving. That's something people still do pretty frequently. It's not that much fun, though. I don't recommend doing it. Your ISP has one that you use. Google does it, and if you've configured your email client, Outlook email client, or your OS X email client, or Firebird or whatever, to use your Gmail address, you've configured your machine to talk to their SMTP servers. So you've probably done it already, and this is just a matter of getting some better credentials, more appropriate credentials for a script, and tying it all together. So if you're going to use the Google approach, you can get an app password, and then you don't have to use your Gmail password hard-coded into your script or some other file to do it. So how you do that is you go to My Account, and then you go to the Sign In and Security section in the interface, and then you scroll down, and you're like, where was that thing? And it's here under app passwords. So you have to scroll down a little bit to find it. Then when you get there, you get to say, you get to click on other for, this is a drop down where it says, what's the application? So you click on other, and then you just type in your name of your application, like maybe you would say SMTP or something like that. And then you click generate, and it gives you this password back. And it's going to tell you you don't need to save that password, but of course you do need to save that password. So put that in some file so that you'll be able to access the password later. I don't know if the spaces are significant, but I know it works if you take them out. And then you want to put that somewhere where it's not in version control, right? Just like best practices for connecting to databases and all that sort of stuff that you've been warned about before. I'll just warn you about it again. This is a password that has the same permissions as the Gmail account that you're making the password with. So you don't want it to be exposed, right? So I guess given that, why don't you just use your normal Gmail password? Well, I don't know. So anyway, put the password in like a .n file or something like that. Again, this is part of this. You need some mechanism to have it not be in the repository. So this is one approach. So you make a file that may be called .env, or you could call it whatever you want. And then you'll read that back in your Python script, and all of these values will get put into the environment that the script is running under. So the user here is Kale is Leet, and all that, right? And then be sure to put that in your git ignore. So now you're all set up, and now you need to make the message. So you make the message. You're going to use this part of the standard library. So this is the message class, and I'm not sure what the application class is, but it's some glue that like holds the parts together. And this holds the bottom of the message. I guess that's where the attachments are made. is in the application. And then this is just some cruft. That's like just one regular expression that we're pulling in. So then you set up your, I don't know if everybody has any like old school like command line email experience. This should look kind of familiar. So there's various message headers that you can, that you have to supply, like from and to. There's also reply to and other things that you've probably seen exposed in one way or another. And then you set those. It's sort of a dictionary interface, but it's not really a proper dictionary. Like you can't set, you can't take a dictionary of arguments that you have at the top of your function and use update, for instance, on the message. So it's a little frustrating because you'd like to be able to allow people to manually set, at the time they call the function to send the email, arbitrarily set headers. So if you go to the Git repository that I have for this little project, that is solved, in a ham-handed but effective way. And then you can attach your files. Oh, so the last thing here is you put the body of your message in a multi-part line format, and here you attach your files. So you have a little loop that goes over the files, and for each one, you make the thing and then you attach it to the message. And again, this is all in a Git repo that I'll put on the, whatever it's called. What do you call that thing?
Etherpad?
Oh,
Yeah.
the Etherpad, yeah.
Etherpad.
And if it's a Git repo, we actually fork it as SLCPython.
Okay. Do I have to send you something?
No, just tell me what the repo is.
All right. So then you're done with your making your MIME message, and you just use the SMTP-lib to send it. And usually you're going to have to use, or the scope of this talk assumes that you're using SMTP authentication. That's where we got those credentials at the beginning. There's other ways to do it, but at the top there, you instantiate the connection, and then everything after that second line is encrypted. So that's when you send your credentials. That's not enforced, so you could hit that backwards. So don't do that. And then you send it, and then you are done. So in the repo, there's a few bells and whistles, like I said. So as I said, it's not a Python-heavy problem, and I probably could have done it as a shell script like I used to do it, but I'm more comfortable with Python these days, so I did it.
I had a question. Is it possible, I'm just trying to think, to stick a context manager in there? So it would be like with SMTP, whatever, that opening line as S. I'm just trying
Yeah,
to...
you can do that, for sure. But I mean, did that sort of thing in the
open it,
previous parts. It seemed like this was kind of either, I don't know, either it worked or it didn't. So I'm a little bit old school about that sort of thing.
Of course, one difference is if you encounter an error, you don't miss any email.
Right.
So.
That's true.
Does it
Good
allow,
call. I've never seen it fail in hundreds of emails.
I screwed up email a million times.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying I didn't misspell something in the email. Something like that.
Does it allow you to manage the encapsulation types and the subparts and all that? With that
There is some stuff there that I haven't used. I just looked at today to prepare for this talk, but like you can change the, you can change the content disposition, you can change the order of the attachments and things like that. So if you wanted to, so one useful or potentially useful content disposition that I usually hate is inline. And so people seem to really like that. It just totally breaks Gmail's web interface, and so it makes me hate it.
How much data are you normally sending when you do this?
Oh, it's just on the order of a megabyte. So we can fit that whole plot with, like 50 samples in each of those graph instances in well under a megabyte.
Are you including attachments or not?
That's sent as an attachment.
This is the attachment.
I wasn't
Yeah.
sure.
And then that file has to be opened up in the browser for it to work. So the inline representation of that is completely broken.
There is a way to do it inline where you
Mhm.
prefix everything for Gmail specific stuff, and then other email clients have taken it. I've had to do it for newsletters before.
Yeah. The JavaScript there is like super, super hairy.
Yeah.
And we've been trying to fix it and refactor it and stuff, but it's bad enough just encapsulating all of that stuff into a standalone. Good to know it can be done.
Yeah, I'll send you the code sometime if you ping me.
Okay.
Have you explored other things like SendGrid or other people who have programmatic API for sending email?
No, it was just this thing that I had to throw together kind of at the last minute, and so sorry, Les. We don't want this to be the solution. Right? We have a much more rich presentation that allows you to switch back and forth between parts of the biology, or to switch back and forth between different renderings of the same results. Because sometimes it's nice to show things in slightly different ways. Like what we just looked at, you can see 2 samples and all of the biological data for those samples. And then we have other applications or other views of it that let you see all of the samples, but a more limited slice of the biology. So we want to pull people into that sort of gamified presentation of the data and leave this far and rearview mirror.
You don't want this to be the solution, send it dev as they launch it in production. Yes, this becomes a de facto 5-year app.
Yeah, I mean, there's some of that going on.
We're doing this for now because we have to.
Yeah. 5 years later.
Right. So it's
What's
not
the saying? There's nothing more permanent than temporary solution.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure we've all had, classes and databases and apps named, test_5.
Yep.
And so this is kind of like that, right?
Yeah, my name is on a million functions out there right now.
Exactly. Okay.
Thanks again. So now that you've seen how hard those talks, I'd like to take an opportunity to do a quick lightning talk. Let's go for it. We have time for one more, I think.
I've been supporting various flavors of machines for almost 30 years now. My first paying position was when I was at Eastern Michigan back in 1989. So I've always considered myself, I've always been an administrator more than a software developer. I've done a lot of small things, but I recently had the opportunity to do a lot more things in Python. And we had a part-time student that pushed me away from shell scripts into Python, and I'm eternally grateful for all the effort that he put into doing that.
Favorite flower?
Lilacs, I guess. We had those in the backyard when I was a kid. So.
Good choice.
So we're transitioning into a new management system. For the Marriott Library, we support about 750 machines scattered between the Marriott Library itself and various departments around the campus. We are transitioning into a new management system away from our Unix-based system to Casper, or Jamf as it's called now. And there was, it was very light on onboarding, so I mean we could tell where the machine was and what the software was on it, but we couldn't really tell who owned it and where they were and what their phone number was and things like that. So there was an opportunity to build an onboarding solution, and this is what we came up with. This is all written in Python with TCL, TK-Enter. It's one of the things we have to deal with is being on OS 10 and the weird situation with OS 10 where they have the built-in Python, which Apple uses, and is 2.7.10, I think. And so it's incredibly out of date, but it's the Python that's tied into Core Foundation and all the other stuff. So we kind of want to stay aimed at that. So this is what we came up with. Basically, it talks to the JSS, the management system. It talks to LDAP if it needs to. It talks to the Marriott Libraries employee database. It talks to the machine itself. It's basically the information, finds out who owns it, what department they work in, what their email address is, what building they work in, various inventory fields. Has the barcode information for the machines and what the IP address is supposed to be, the name. If it's a PC, these fields will become active because there's a different serial number system and asset tags. It can open up fields or open up web pages in the JSS from these buttons down here. That button can fire off a process to take the machine from an active status into an inactive status so we can give it to property surplus. That's basically it. All the images are base64 encoded GIF images right inside the script, which I saw that at a conference and it literally just blew me away. I could not believe that he was doing that so quickly and easily right in the same script. So I had this source code, and then we developed another app that will uses about 90% of the same code base, but looks at different data inside the database. It takes a little while to run because it's building dictionaries. So this app is designed for technicians, our part-time students to use. If they're deploying a new machine, they're going to someone's desk and it's brand new, take it out of the box. They run the app, it onboards them, and all of our back-end scripts work correctly. So this one talks to the JSS and is more of like an introspection. It says that this is all the stuff that's supposed to be active on the machine. This is the software that's supposed to be installed. These are the variables that we can assign to the different machines, the various inventory fields, stuff like that. We can run scripts that will tell us how much space is left on the machine, or when the machine we think was manufactured. The printers, the different software groups, configuration profiles we have installed, there aren't any on this machine, and the different policies that apply to that specific machine. We can do other things like search the JSS for all the machines that apply to that string and bring up the different fields. So I think that's it. I've only been programming Python for about 18 months now, so I'm really kind of geeked that I can do this kind of thing as quickly as we were able to do it. I have a number of other GUI apps that are in development, and all the stuff is on GitHub, so I'll put the link there.
Nice.
And I put, there were, on the Etherpad thing there, down at the bottom, there are two things that I put on there. One was tkinter, and the other one was app packaging. So this one is built with PyApp, and I can build the same source code with PyInstaller without much difficulty and have an actual Windows application. So that's it.
Thank you very much, Todd.
Thank you.
Any questions? Oh, lots of questions.
How does it speak to JSS? Is it like an API or something?
Some of the calls are XML, and the other calls are JSON. When we're pushing information back up, it's all XML, but most of the time when we're pulling it down, it's JSON.
Are you able to pull every machine out there?
Yeah, when I did that search and it brought that up, I mean, I could have every machine and go and look at each individual machine.
Do the machines identify themselves when they come online? Or?
I'm talking to, well, this isn't talking to a machine, it's talking to the database.
I realize that, yes. Well,
Okay.
my question is, let's say I'm sitting here right now,
Mhm.
and somebody plugs in a machine. Can you identify what machines are rolled?
Not through this. On the JSS, we could do that.
Okay. That's what I was doing.
Mhm.
I've been programming Python for a while. I've never written anything in a GUI. I was just kind of curious, since you're also kind of learning a little bit.
Uh-huh.
You know, what was the hardest part of the GUI side? It's like you do a bunch of Python stuff. The GUI to me looks
It's
hard
the
and
grid.
impressive.
It's making sure that things go where you want them to go. And it was easy. The first one, Tugboat, was pretty easy because things were, the drop downs were lining up with the text input fields and stuff like that. But when with Cargo Ship, with the different fields and getting the margins between them was time consuming.
Just a lot of trial and error.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So, kind of piggybacking on his question, that's basically my question, but would you recommend like a Tickle TK kind of thing, or would you go with, like, is that a good kind of GUI to get started with in Python, do you think?
If, well, one of the big things was we knew that kind of it was going to be cross-platform, so we needed to, to stay with that. But yeah, it's not, Stack Overflow.
Yeah.
If you formulate your question well enough, you get a pretty good answer.
I'm going to piggyback on their questions. Why didn't you go with the web interface?
We couldn't be sure that the machine would have internet on it. I mean, we could do things on the machine that, behind the scenes that didn't necessarily have to have the internet.
Well, the only reason I'm asking is that I'm moving away from GUIs to web interfaces.
We also, all of that information would be available on the JSS, but it would be scattered in different panes, and we kind of grouped it all together in one spot. And we were able to, at the login, we were able to control, the level of access and which students had access. Okay, thank you.
I get to plug into this mess snap.
Thank you.
Are we gonna mirror or are we gonna? Yeah, we're mirroring.
Well, there's GitHub has Electron, which is like a JavaScript interface that you can build applications. Like Slack, if you've
Of course.
the Slack clients, we use Electron.
Awesome. So who had? Let's give a round of applause to all the speakers. Thank you so much. It's really tricky to put together a talk. It's even trickier to make them short and sweet and fun. And I feel like this was kind of awesome to see the generalism of Python being the second best language at everything, from email to GUIs. That was the first GUI talk we've ever had, actually, that was not a web one. So that was pretty awesome. To live coding with a non-coder, apparently, to deploying Python in gracefully. So that was really fun. Really good talks. As I said, our next meetup is going to be, what was it, June 5th, I think? Let's see. I have this thing called a calendar that I can pull up. I'm used to just clicking on the upper right corner, and there's just a calendar there.
Back in the day, with SLCPython before the Meetup group, we did this GUI comparison where a bunch of us took a different framework and we all wrote the same client at IRC.
Oh, that would be cool.
And it was kind of interesting because people could show, how we could see how the different frameworks implement the same thing in the frameworks. And which ones had problems with scrolling and which ones had problems.
I know Python Utah North actually had a battleship.
Yep.
Was it battleship competition? That was pretty interesting. So I'm definitely keen on doing something like that. Our next one will be June 7th, it looks like. Or wait, no. Does that make sense? Yes, the 7th. So that gives Isla a lot of time to prepare her talk on unit testing and mocks. I think we should do, because I saw that Utah North is doing this, we should do random fun fact Python corner for the first 10 minutes, 15 minutes of these meetups. Just, hey, look, just like I did with the list comprehensions and failed miserably. We could do something like that of, hey, check this out. Python lets you import gravity, for example.
Gravity waves.
Yes. So, yeah, with that, I made an agreement with Alex over here. Now I can't find, oh, I already moved it over here. First off, how many Pythonistas did we get to? We get 20, who has 20? 21?
22.
22?
Yeah.
Who's 23?
Who doesn't have a number?
Jason doesn't have a number. Okay, you're 23.
Anybody else? No label? no
Jason,
number?
you're 24. Okay. 24 and I'm 0. So, yeah, I don't feel like winning today, so I'm not going to add another random dot randint. I have to turn around to type. It's kind of funny. Boom. So that's the pseudo-random number generator we're going to use to raffle off our prizes. If you're counting the number of milliseconds after midnight to see if your number is going to win, it's not going to happen. Speaking of which, Alex, since you were the first person to message me on Meetup saying, hey, I have a talk, you have the choice between one of these two guys or to hit enter and run the raffle. The choice is yours.
I'll hit enter.
Awesome. Invalid argument. Thanks, Alex. Way to peer review the code.
I'm just your mock.
Do it again. 22. Who's number 22? Oh, nice. You get your pick. Senor Hurst. Which one are you thinking?
I don't know, any suggestions?
Tiny Python notebook.
with hitting enter.
Oh, yeah, is that an option?
Curated example.
Can we curry the enter?
No.
I'll take a tiny notebook.
Tiny it is. Oh, round of applause. And your second prize is you get to hit enter again.
Wow, that's just too much.
But if you win again, you don't get to win again. You do get to hit enter again, though. 14. Who's number 14? Oh, round of applause. Who's your name again? Sam. Well, which one were you thinking, Sam?
I'll take the Fluent Python.
Which one? Fluent Python? This hefty tome. Do you mind if Alex hits enter for you?
Nope.
Go for it. 13. Oh, nice. Which one? The tiny?
Yeah, the tiny.
Awesome. Nobody likes pandas? I love pandas.
They're so cute.
Yes. And
Snake
also,
and pandas. Why is
yes.
that a snake for pandas?
I don't know. Both these and the Tiny Python notebook are written by one of our infrequent yet awesome members, Matt Harrison. You can see him a lot down south. He typically goes to. Does he still go to those meetups? Or yeah. He used to run the Utah Python as well, and then he went on to other things like writing books. You know. Want to hit enter one more time? Making you do all this work. 3. Who's number 3? Oh, hey, Pops.
I'll pass.
You sure?
I like pandas, but I'll pass.
No, it's data science. Data
Okay.
science. Okay.
Thank you.
Awesome. See? No nepotism. Alex hit enter. So. Awesome. With that, that is our thing. I will see everybody June 7th. Please come over here to the desk if you are going to PyCon or if you are willing to MC in July. June, you'll be like assistant to the MC. Awesome.
Could I ask if there's anybody in here who's been doing multicasting with Python?
I don't know. Anybody doing multicasting?
What version of Python?
Multicasting or multi?
Tasking?
Tasking, yes.
Oh, tasking.
Broadcasting.
Multicast with a C. With a C.
No, not multicasting.